June 23rd, 2017, we had 7 confirmed characters for Dragon Ball FighterZ. The initial 6 with Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Frieza, Cell, and Majin Buu, and then future Trunks was later confirmed right before I launched this video actually, and I decided to do a roster prediction to see who else was going to be in Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, it's been a while, so let's look at my prediction, see how right I was or how wrong I was, and why wasn't I 100% correct. Alright, looking at this custom character select screen that we made based on my prediction, I can already see a lot of stuff that went wrong here. But let's start from the top left and take it all the way down to the bottom right. Adult Gohan, yes, he was one of the most recently confirmed characters. I thought this was a definite character to be in it. My only question was, will they do duplicate characters? Because they already had Teen Gohan in there, I wasn't super sure if they were gonna have Adult Gohan as well. Now, Adult Gohan obviously plays very differently, but given that I thought the roster, the amount of characters that was gonna be in the game was a bit limited, I wasn't too sure if they were gonna have duplicate characters, even though like their playstyles are completely different. But yes, we were 100% correct. The second one was Trunks, that was already confirmed, so I guess that doesn't count for the roster speculation. Next character, Android 18. Yes, she is in. I did not expect 17 to be in there as well as like an assist character. I fully expected 17 to be a fully playable character. But in retrospect, they do have a lot of similar abilities, so in a way I really like the way they integrated Android 18 with 17 as a support. She feels very, very unique because of that. Now, there are a few more characters that have integrated assists now with Ginyu and Nappa and also Goku Black, but they still seem to work very differently from Android 18, so her spot as a unique character might still be secure. Next, we have Goku and Frieza. They were already confirmed. Again, they don't count for the prediction. Then we have Kid Buu. Yes, Kid Buu also made it. This was also a character that I was kind of afraid wasn't going to make it because of the duplicate character situation. Since Majin Buu had already been confirmed, I wasn't too sure that Kid Buu was going to be in it, but again, he has a very unique playstyle, very different from Majin Buu, and he was probably my favorite character in a lot of Dragon Ball games in the past, so I'm glad he made it in as well. Android 17. No, this one did not make it. At this point, we hadn't seen a character that had basically 2 characters, which the first one announced was actually Android 18 with 17 as a support. So in my mind, I just had no idea that was even a possibility. So Android 17 is in the game, but I guess this prediction is kind of wrong because he really is an assist character to 18's main character. Next up, Roli. This was a surprise. So Roli is not in the final roster. He might be a DLC character later, but this was a roster prediction for the launch roster, so I was straight up wrong. They didn't include any of the movie characters, and Broly, I think, even though he is a movie character and a non-canon character, I think his popularity alone would put him in the game. Plus, I think he would be the obvious, like, big guy with a brawler type of playstyle. Something that maybe Android 16 filled in, and Nappa as well. Still, very surprised to see that Broly did not make it into the final roster, but if they do dive into the movies with DLC, I think he's definitely going to be in the game. Next up, Tian Xin Han. Yes, he also has made it into the game. Now, I haven't gotten my hands on it, but his meteor attack is level 3 super, which can go up to a level 7, I think. That's kind of unique. You can just spam that thing. I mean, your health will melt away, but it seems like a very powerful character if you have a lot of meter and you just want to dump it. Very happy to see he has made it as well. He is not a very popular character in Japan, so he wasn't like a character that I was 100% sure was going to make it into the game. So again, glad I predicted that right. Next, Gotenks. Gotenks also made it. Now, I thought that more characters would be able to transform, just like Frieza can go from normal to golden. So at this point, I also thought Gotenks would have like a base form and transform into Super Saiyan 3. That is not the case, but regardless of how the character was integrated, I think this counts as an accurate prediction. Gotenks is in. I still think it would be awesome to have a fusion mechanic somewhere in the game, but I'm still just happy he made it. Next, Piccolo. Now, this was a very obvious choice. I mean, we were all sure Piccolo was going to be in the game, so this was an instant lock. Easy. Then we have Vegeta and Cell. They were already confirmed, so they don't count. Next up, we have Hit. Now, the thing about Hit was that I wasn't sure that they were going to go into Dragon Ball Super. I'm very glad they did. I think Hit was the most obvious character to include, not only because he's a badass in the anime, but because Arc Systems likes unique characters to work with to give them sort of interesting gameplay styles. And hit with his time skip powers, he is a very interesting character. I'm sure they had a lot of fun developing this guy, and I can't wait to get my hands on him because he seriously looks a lot of fun to play. He seems like straight up my character style. Oh, I want to play him so much. Next, we have Fused Zamasu. I guess this counts as a wrong prediction because the one that made it was Goku Black as Super Saiyan Rose. I thought that if Goku Black was gonna make it, it would be in this form, this Fused Zamasu. Can I get half a point for this one? No? Okay. Next up we have Vegeto. He also did not make it into the game. Now I think the reason why Vegeto didn't make it is actually because they decided to include Super Saiyan Blues in the game. So you already have a duplicate Goku and a duplicate Vegeta, and granted they have different movesets, but then having those 4 characters plus Vegeto, it might be too much Goku and Vegeta. I think if the Super Saiyan Blues didn't make it, we would probably get Vegeto, but this being the case, no. He did not make it. Next, Oob. Now that was a prediction out of left field. I seriously thought that Dragon Ball Super would move a bit faster than it has, and Oob has already been teased in Dragon Ball Super. You have a character talking to Goku saying, hey, you remember that guy, Oob? He's Majin Buu but reincarnated as a good guy. You should meet him sometime. And because of that teaser in the anime, I thought the anime would actually get there before the game was released, and if that was the case, then Oob would actually make it into the game. So in some ways, I was wrong on 2 predictions here. 1, the anime did not make it that far in, and 2, Oob definitely did not make it into the game. Next, Roshi. Roshi also didn't make it. Because of his recent integration in the anime in the Tournament of Power arc, he kind of showed himself to be a useful character. So I wasn't really counting on him as a joke character because Arc System said they wouldn't do joke characters for this game. But I actually thought, hey, he's got some unique stuff with like that sealing technique, the Mafuba, or Mafuda? Mafuba, I think it's Mafuba. So I genuinely thought he could have made it, but no. Next up we have Krillin. Krillin was another super obvious one, along with Piccolo. He was like one of the first characters that I said in that video. He's gonna make it into the game. I mean, he's definitely going to. There's no Dragon Ball game without Krillin and Piccolo, so that was super obvious too. Then we have Team Gohan and Majin Buu. Those were already confirmed. Those don't count. Then Cooler. Now the reason why I included Cooler was that in a way I looked at this character roster and it looked like we were gonna have heroes on one side and villains on the other, and I started to struggle thinking about villains, like who else could have made it into the villain side. And keep in mind at that point we hadn't really seen Jiren in action, so maybe I would have gone Jiren if we had already gotten to that point in the anime. Cooler seemed like the most obvious choice, but I think this was my most risky prediction on this entire roster. He's not that popular of a character, but again, you look at villains and you don't have a lot left, do you? Next up, Beerus. Beerus did make it into the final roster. Again, I didn't know if they were gonna include Super or not, but including Dragon Ball Super, Hit, and Beerus were obvious picks, and he obviously made it as well. And the final character was Whis. In retrospect, I was so wrong. Like, how does Whis even fight in the anime? He doesn't. He just dodges stuff all the time. He's like the great master to Goku and Vegeta, but he doesn't really fight. I think I was coming out of Xenoverse and being like, hey, Whis has some cool abilities, maybe he could make it into the game. I was so wrong. Alright, I guessed 9 characters out of 17. That's almost a 50-50 chance. I think most importantly though, I guessed the number of characters correctly. 24 characters, that's what I said from the very beginning. I'd be curious to see how other YouTubers got their predictions, because I remember a lot of people making roster predictions back then, and I wonder how many got the number 24 right and how many characters they guessed correctly. I would love to know that. If you guys know any YouTubers that did this back then, make sure to reference them in the comments, because I'd love to see how this compares. And some people are still expecting 2 more character reveals, because there's a source that said Bandai Namco will reveal 2 more characters. That source was Eurogamer Portugal, and as a Portuguese man, I don't know if they're the most reliable source, so yeah, I wouldn't rely on that information too much. I would rely more on this tweet from Shonen Games, who have put together this character selection screen. This is the latest character selection screen, and this is what they guess the final roster will look like. You have all the characters announced so far, plus the Super Saiyan Blues at the bottom left, and then you have the last base character at the very bottom, and that's probably Android 21. The rest of the slots should be for DLC, because Bandai Namco already announced they will have 8 DLC characters. So if this is the final select screen, again, we're not waiting for 2 more characters to be announced, we're just waiting for 1. There's a lot that seems to indicate that 24 is the final number, and a single source from Eurogamer saying there's 2 more, it's not enough to convince me. I think what really threw me for this roster prediction was, first of all, the inclusion of the Super Saiyan Blues. I thought they would absolutely not do something like that. I was kind of bummed out when they did, but the inclusion of Super Saiyan Blue, Goku, and Vegeta, like taking up 2 character slots in this already pretty limited character roster, that bummed me out a lot. I also thought that Ginyu was not going to be included, because how can you include Ginyu without the rest of the Ginyu Force? And again, that would be too many characters for this character selection screen. But again, I did not take into account that you could use the other characters as just part of one character. Even though I was wrong, I was very happy to see that. And then we have Nappa. I mean, what the hell? Who expected Nappa? I'm also missing Android 16 and Yamcha from my prediction. Again, characters that were not too popular, but I love the way they're integrated into the game. And then no one could expect an original character from Bandai Namco Android 21. So yeah, all those factors together made it so I only guessed 9 characters out of the 17 that hadn't been announced. Still pretty proud that I managed to nail the number down. In retrospect, it looks kind of obvious, but back then there were a lot of people contesting that decision. And I guess the next step is talk about the 8 DLC characters. I would love to know who you want as a DLC character, and I'll make a video with the most popular demand. Like, that might reach Bandai Namco's ears, and they'll be like, huh, these guys are very demanded, huh? You might actually have an impact on the game. Now, granted, most of the DLC is probably already planned, but you never know. You might have an impact. Who are the 8 DLC characters you'd like to see in Dragon Ball FighterZ? Let me know in those comments down below. And if you haven't had enough of this game, because I know I haven't, here's how that replayable story mode will work. We analyzed some trailers and gameplay, and it looks very, very promising. If you're in the mood for something else, there's also the video at the bottom, but as always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Globku, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.